The warning lights flashed red across the control panel as Dr. Marcus Chen fought with the ship's steering wheel. His small research vessel shook violently as it fell through the thick atmosphere of the unknown planet below. Sparks flew from broken wires, and smoke filled the tiny cabin. "Come on, hold together," Marcus said through gritted teeth. He had been studying space plants and animals for 10 years, but he was also trained in survival. The emergency systems kicked in just as the ship's main engine died completely. The escape pod shot out from the burning vessel with a loud bang. Marcus felt his body pressed hard against the seat as the pod spun through the air. Below him, he could see a vast forest of strange, glowing trees that seemed to reach up to the sky like giant crystal towers. The pod hit the ground hard. Marcus felt pain shoot through his shoulder as he was thrown forward against his safety belt. When everything stopped moving, he sat still for a moment, breathing heavily. Smoke drifted up from the damaged pod around him. He checked himself for injuries. His shoulder hurt, but nothing seemed broken. His survival pack was still strapped to his back, and his scanner device had survived the crash. The scanner's screen flickered to life, showing energy readings from somewhere in the forest. Marcus climbed out of the wrecked pod and looked around. The forest was unlike anything he had ever seen. The trees were tall and smooth, with a crystal-like surface that glowed with soft blue and green light. Strange plants covered the ground, some pulsing with their own light. The air smelled sweet and clean. He pulled out his scanner and checked the readings again. There were definitely signs of intelligent life about 5 miles to the east. That meant possible help, but also possible danger. Marcus had studied enough alien species to know that first contact could go very badly. He gathered his supplies, a basic medical kit, water purification tablets, emergency food, rope, a small knife, and his research tools. Not much for surviving on an alien world, but it would have to do. The walk through the forest was difficult. Thick vines hung from the crystal trees, and the ground was covered with roots and strange mushrooms that glowed when he stepped on them. Every sound made him stop and listen. He had no idea what kind of animals lived here. After 3 hours of walking, Marcus heard something that made him freeze. Voices. They sounded musical, like singing birds, but there was a pattern to them. Language. He moved closer, staying hidden behind the thick trees. Through the glowing branches, he saw them. The beings were about his height, but much thinner, with long arms and legs. Their skin was covered in short fur that changed colors like oil on water. They had large, dark eyes and small mouths. They moved gracefully, almost like they were dancing as they walked. Marcus watched as several of them gathered around what looked like a campfire, but instead of flames, it gave off a soft white light. They were talking in their musical language, and their body movements suggested they were upset or worried about something. One of them suddenly looked in his direction. Marcus held perfectly still, but it was too late. The creature's large eyes had spotted him. It made a high-pitched sound, and all the others turned to look. For a moment, nobody moved. Then the aliens began backing away, making frightened sounds. Some of them ran into the forest, moving faster than Marcus thought possible. But 2 of them stayed. One was older, with silver streaks in its changing fur. The other was younger, with brighter colors that shifted from blue to gold. They watched Marcus carefully, ready to run, but not running yet. Marcus slowly raised his hands to show he was not holding any weapons. He took a small step forward and spoke softly. "Hello," he said. "I'm not going to hurt you." The older alien tilted its head, listening. Then it made some sounds that his universal translator device picked up and converted into words he could understand. "You are Predator," the alien said in a voice that sounded like wind chimes. "But you do not hunt. Why?" Marcus was surprised that his translator could work with their language so quickly. "I'm not here to hunt anyone. My ship crashed. I need help." The younger alien stepped forward, and said something quickly to the older one. They talked back and forth in their musical language for a few minutes. Then, the older one turned back to Marcus. I am Silvana, leader of my people. This is Lirelei, my daughter. You are hurt? Silvana pointed at Marcus's shoulder, which was still sore from the crash. A little, Marcus admitted. But I'm okay. Lirelei moved closer, and Marcus could see that her eyes were filled with worry, but not about him. She spoke to her mother again, then looked at Marcus. Our village is in great danger, she said, her voice soft and sad. For many days, the Thornclaws hunt us. They kill our people. We cannot stop them. Thornclaws? Marcus asked. Silvana made a gesture with her hands, showing something large with sharp claws. Big hunters. Very strong. Very smart. They learn our hiding places. Tonight, they will come again. We will all die. Marcus felt a cold feeling in his stomach. These peaceful people were being hunted by predators, and they had no way to defend themselves. He looked at Lirelei's frightened face and at Silvana's tired eyes. How many of these Thornclaws are there? He asked. 12, maybe more, Silvana answered. Too many. We are only food to them. Marcus looked around at the crystal forest and thought about his survival training. He thought about the supplies in his pack and the layout of the area he had walked through. Maybe not, he said quietly. Silvana and Lirelei led Marcus through the crystal forest toward their village. As they walked, more of their people appeared from behind trees and under hanging vines. They all looked at Marcus with wide, fearful eyes, but they followed at a distance. The village was built inside and around the largest crystal trees Marcus had ever seen. These trees were so big that entire houses had been carved into their trunks. Bridges made of woven vines connected tree to tree, high above the ground. Soft light came from the crystal walls, making everything glow like a fairy tale. But Marcus could see the fear on every face. Many of the tree houses had claw marks on their walls. Some bridges had been torn and hastily repaired. The population looked much smaller than what the village size could support. We used to be 200, Silvana said, noticing Marcus looking around. Now, we are 140. The Thornclaws take 3 or 4 of us every few days. Lirelei pointed to a damaged section of the village. They came 2 nights ago. Took Elder Corinth and young Villani. We heard their screams in the darkness. Marcus felt anger building in his chest. These people were gentle and peaceful. They lived in harmony with their forest, taking only what they needed and hurting no one. The Thornclaws were destroying them for sport. Tell me about these Thornclaws, Marcus said. Everything you know. An old male with scars on his silver fur stepped forward. I am Thresh, the village memory keeper. I have seen them hunt for 23 days now. Thresh led Marcus to a flat crystal surface and began drawing with a piece of charcoal. The picture he made showed a creature that was 12 feet long, with powerful legs and massive claws. Its head was like a crocodile's, but with intelligent eyes and sharp teeth designed for tearing meat. They are not just animals, Thresh explained. They think and plan. They work together like a pack of wolves, but much smarter. The pack leader is a large female with scars across her face. She directs the others. How do they hunt? Marcus asked, studying the drawing. They surround us, said a young male who had been watching from nearby. Some make noise from one direction, while others attack from behind. They force us to run toward where more of them wait. Lirelei nodded sadly. We can only run and hide. We know nothing of fighting. Our people have never hurt another living thing. Marcus looked around at the faces watching him. Men, women, and children who had never known violence were being slowly killed off by predators who enjoyed the hunt. The Thornclaws had found easy prey and were taking their time, playing with their food. Where do they come from during the day? Marcus asked. The rocky hills to the south, Thresh answered. But they range all through this part of the forest now. They have claimed it as their territory. And they'll attack again tonight? They attack every third night, Sylvana said. Tonight is the third night. But this time will be different. They have been getting braver, taking more risks. I think tonight they plan to finish us. Marcus walked to the edge of the village platform and looked out into the forest. The sun was getting low in the sky, painting the crystal trees with orange and red light. In a few hours, it would be dark. He opened his survival pack and laid out everything he had. The medical kit, with its various chemicals, the rope, the knife, water purification tablets, a small flashlight, emergency flares, and some basic tools. Not much to fight 12 intelligent predators with. But Marcus had something the Thornclaws didn't expect. A human mind that had been trained to solve problems and survive in dangerous situations. He also had knowledge of chemistry, physics, and tactics that these aliens had never encountered. I need to know exactly how they attacked before, Marcus said. Every detail you can remember. For the next 2 hours, Marcus listened as the villagers described the Thornclaws' hunting methods. They always attacked from multiple directions. They used fear to make their prey panic and run into traps. They were patient, willing to spend hours setting up the perfect ambush. But they had patterns. They avoided certain types of terrain. They relied on their speed and claws, not tools or weapons. Most importantly, they had never faced prey that fought back with intelligence and planning. As the sun began to set, Marcus started working. He took chemicals from his medical kit and mixed them in small containers, creating compounds that would explode when exposed to heat or impact. He used his rope to set up tripwires in the forest paths leading to the village. The villagers watched in amazement as Marcus gathered certain plants and mushrooms from the forest floor. His scanner had identified several species that produced natural toxins or paralytic agents. He carefully extracted these and coated sharp sticks with the substances. "What are you doing?" Lirelei asked, helping him tie knots in the rope. "I'm turning this forest into a trap," Marcus explained. "The Thornclaws think they're the only smart hunters here. Tonight, they're going to learn differently." He showed the villagers how to prepare escape routes and safe hiding places, not for running away, but for getting out of the way while he worked. He set up a network of vine bridges and hidden paths that would let him move quickly through the trees while staying above the Thornclaws. As full darkness fell, Marcus took position on a high platform where he could see the approaches to the village. He had prepared everything he could with the limited supplies available. Now it was time to see if a human could outthink a pack of alien predators. In the distance, he heard the first howl. Low and threatening, it echoed through the crystal forest. More howls answered from different directions. The Thornclaws were beginning their hunt. Marcus checked his improvised weapons one more time and smiled grimly. The predators were about to learn that sometimes the prey bites back. The first Thornclaw appeared at the edge of the village just after midnight. Marcus watched from his position, high in the crystal trees, as the massive predator moved silently between the glowing trunks. It was even bigger than Thresh's drawing had shown, with muscles rippling under dark, scaled skin. The creature stopped and sniffed the air. Its intelligent eyes scanned the village, looking for the easiest targets. Marcus could see other shadows moving in the forest around them. The pack was surrounding the village just as the villagers had described. Marcus waited. Patience was just as important as courage in a fight like this. The pack leader emerged from behind a large tree. She was enormous, with old scars across her snout and cold yellow eyes that seemed to glow in the darkness. She made a soft growling sound, and the other Thornclaws began to move closer. That was when Marcus triggered his first trap. The explosive he had made from medical supplies detonated near the pack leader's feet, sending dirt and broken crystal flying through the air. The blast wasn't big enough to seriously hurt the massive creature, but it surprised her and lit up the night with bright flame. The Thornclaws roared in confusion and anger. They had never encountered prey that struck first. Marcus used their moment of confusion to light his first emergency flare and throw it into a pile of toxic plants he had prepared. Thick, choking smoke began to spread through the forest. 3 Thornclaws charged toward the village, thinking they could end the fight quickly with a direct attack. The first one tripped and crashed into a tree, while the second got tangled up and fell hard on the ground. The third one avoided the ropes but stepped on a pressure plate Marcus had made from a bent branch. A sharpened stick coated with paralytic plant poison shot up from the ground and pierced the Thornclaw's foot. The creature roared in pain and tried to pull the stick out, but the poison was already working. Its leg began to go numb. Marcus was already moving. He swung on a vine rope from tree to tree, staying above the action while the Thornclaws tried to figure out where the attacks were coming from. He had studied their behavior all day and knew they would expect their prey to run away, not attack from above. The pack leader roared commands to her followers. 2 Thornclaws split off to circle around the village, while 3 more began climbing the trees, using their massive claws to dig into the crystal bark. Marcus had expected this. As the first climber reached his level, Marcus was waiting with another surprise. He had filled a container with water purification chemicals that would burn like acid when mixed together. He threw the mixture at the Thornclaw's eyes and face. The predator screamed and lost its grip, crashing down through the branches to the forest floor. It wasn't badly hurt, but it was temporarily blinded and very angry. Now, the real hunt began. Marcus moved through the forest like a ghost, using every trick he had learned in survival training. He had studied the village area for hours and knew every tree, every vine, every hiding spot. The Thornclaws were strong and fast, but this was his battlefield now. He led 2 of them into a narrow canyon between large crystal formations. The Thornclaws thought they had cornered him, but Marcus had spent the afternoon digging a tunnel through the soft earth at the canyon's back wall. As they charged, he disappeared through his escape route. The confused predators found themselves trapped in the narrow space when Marcus triggered his biggest explosive from outside the canyon. The blast brought down a controlled rock slide that blocked the exit. The 2 Thornclaws were buried under tons of crystal and stone. But Marcus had made noise with the explosion, and now all the remaining Thornclaws knew where he was. 7 of them, including the pack leader, came running toward his position. Marcus climbed quickly up the tallest tree he could find. The Thornclaws followed, their claws scraping against crystal bark as they pulled themselves up after him. Marcus waited until they were halfway up, then cut the support ropes he had prepared earlier. A net made from his climbing rope and weighted with rocks dropped down over 3 of the climbing Thornclaws. They struggled and roared, but the more they fought, the more tangled they became. Eventually, they lost their grip and fell, hitting the ground hard. The pack leader and 3 others were still coming. Marcus could see the intelligence in the leader's scarred face as she figured out that she was hunting something completely different from normal prey. This wasn't just an animal defending itself. This was a thinking enemy using tools and traps. Marcus had saved his most dangerous trap for last. He had used most of his remaining explosives to weaken several large crystal trees, so they would fall in a specific pattern. As the pack leader reached the top of the tree where Marcus waited, he lit his last flare and threw it at the base of the prepared trees. The explosions went off in sequence, like dominoes falling. 4 massive crystal trees crashed down across the forest, their heavy trunks smashing through other trees and sending crystal shards flying like sharp rain. When the noise and destruction finally stopped, only the pack leader and 1 other Thornclaw were still standing. Both were injured, and the pack leader had a long cut across her scarred face from flying crystal. Marcus dropped down from his tree and stood facing them on the forest floor. He held his knife in one hand and his last explosive device in the other. His clothes were torn and he had cuts on his arms and face, but his eyes were steady and determined. The pack leader studied him for a long moment. In her intelligent eyes, Marcus could see something he hadn't expected. Respect. She had lived long enough to become pack leader by recognizing when she was outmatched. She made a low growling sound to her remaining follower, then turned and limped away into the darkness. The other Thornclaw followed her, leaving 7 of their pack, dead, in the crystal forest. As the sun began to rise, Marcus sat down heavily against a tree trunk. His whole body ached, and his hands were shaking from exhaustion and leftover adrenaline. But the village was safe. In the distance, he could hear the musical voices of the villagers as they discovered that they had survived the night. For the first time in weeks, they were singing songs of joy instead of mourning their dead. Marcus smiled and closed his eyes, listening to their celebration. Tomorrow, he would help them figure out how to stay safe in the future. Tonight, he had proven that sometimes the best defense is a good offense. When Marcus woke up, he was lying on a soft bed made of woven crystal fibers. Warm sunlight streamed through the translucent walls of the treehouse around him. His wounds had been cleaned and bandaged with materials that smelled like sweet flowers. Lirelei sat beside his bed, watching him with her large, gentle eyes. When she saw that he was awake, her fur changed from worried blue colors to happy gold and green. "You have slept for 2 days," she said softly. "We were afraid you might not wake up." Marcus tried to sit up and immediately felt pain in his shoulder and ribs. "The village? Is everyone safe?" "Yes," Lirelei smiled. "You saved us all. The Thornclaws who survived your battle have left our territory. Our scouts say they are traveling far to the south, back to their old hunting grounds." Through the crystal walls, Marcus could hear the sounds of a busy, happy village. Children were laughing and playing. Adults were singing work songs as they repaired the damage from the Thornclaw attacks. The fear that had hung over the village like a dark cloud was gone. Sylvana entered the room, carrying a tray of food and water. Her silver-streaked fur was bright with colors Marcus had never seen before, and she moved with a dignity that reminded him of royalty. "Marcus of the humans," she said formally, "our village lives because of your courage. You have done something that our people have no words for." "I just did what anyone would do," Marcus said, accepting the food gratefully. The fruit and nuts tasted sweet and filling. "No," Sylvana shook her head. "What you did was Shental, the highest virtue of our people. You risked your life to protect those who could not protect themselves, and you asked for nothing in return." Lirelei leaned forward, her expression serious. "In our culture, Shental creates Veltharion, a sacred debt that must be repaid. When someone saves our people through great sacrifice, we must honor them with our greatest gift." Marcus felt uncomfortable with their formal tone. "Really, I don't need any reward. I'm just glad everyone is safe." "That is exactly why the debt must be paid," Sylvana said. "You expect nothing, which makes your sacrifice perfect. Our laws are clear about what must happen now." The chieftain stood and called out in their musical language. Soon, the entire village had gathered on the platforms outside Marcus's room. Men, women, and children filled every available space, all watching him with respect and gratitude. Lirelei stood and faced her people. When she spoke, her voice carried clearly through the crystal trees. "I am Lirelei, daughter of Sylvana, hearthkeeper of our people. I am the keeper of our laws, our stories, and our sacred traditions. Today, I speak for all who live in this village." She turned to Marcus, and he could see both determination and nervousness in her eyes. "Marcus of the humans, you have performed Shental for our people. You faced death to save the lives of strangers. By our oldest laws, this creates Veltharion, a debt that can only be paid with the greatest honor we can give." The crowd began to sing softly, a beautiful harmony that made the crystal trees ring like bells. "I offer myself as your Silneth," Lirelei continued, "life-bonded companion. I will be responsible for your happiness and well-being as long as you live, and you will be the eternal guardian of our people. This is not marriage, as other species might understand it, but something deeper, a joining of lives and purposes. Marcus felt his heart racing. Lirelei, I don't understand. You barely know me. I know that you risked everything for people you had just met, she replied. I know that you used your intelligence and courage to defeat enemies that we could not face. I know that you refuse payment for saving our lives, which shows the goodness of your heart. An elder stepped forward from the crowd. The Silneth bond is our highest honor, he explained. It means that Lirelei chooses to tie her life to yours. She will learn your customs and help you understand ours. Together, you will be bridge between your people and ours. And if I refuse? Marcus asked. The crowd fell silent. Silvana looked sad as she answered. To refuse would mean that our debt remains unpaid. Our people would be shamed. We would have no way to show our gratitude for the gift of our lives. But more than that, Lirelei said quietly, it would break my heart. I have watched you these past days. I have seen your kindness to our wounded, your gentleness with our children, your respect for our ways even though they are strange to you. I offer myself not just because the law demands it, but because I choose to. Marcus looked around at the faces watching him. These people had already been through so much trauma and loss. He didn't want to cause them more pain by refusing their highest honor. But there was something else. In the short time he had known Lirelei, he had come to admire her intelligence, her courage in helping him prepare for battle, and her deep care for her people. She was beautiful, but more than that, she was strong and wise. What exactly does the Silneth bond mean? He asked. It means that I become your partner in all things, Lirelei explained. I will learn your language and your customs. I will help you understand our world and our people. If you choose to stay here, I will be your companion. If you choose to leave, I will go with you to the stars. Our lives become one life. Our purposes become one purpose. Marcus thought about his old life of traveling alone from planet to planet, studying plants and animals with no one to share his discoveries. Then he looked at Lirelei's hopeful face and at the village full of people who were alive because he had chosen to help them. Maybe this was what he had been looking for all along without knowing it. A place to belong, people to protect, and someone to share it all with. He stood up slowly, still sore from the battle but determined. If this is truly what you choose, Lirelei, then I accept the honor of being your Silneth. The village erupted in joyful singing. Crystal trees rang like church bells as the people celebrated. Lirelei stepped forward and took Marcus's hands in hers, her fur shimmering with every color he had ever seen her display. Then we are bonded, she said, tears of happiness in her large eyes. From this day forward, your people are my people, and my people are your people. As the celebration continued around them, Marcus realized that his crash landing on this planet had not been an accident after all. It had been the beginning of a new life he never could have imagined. 3 weeks after the Thornclaw battle, Marcus stood with Lirelei on the highest platform of the village, watching the sunrise paint the crystal forest in brilliant colors. His emergency beacon had been broadcasting steadily, and his scanner showed a human ship approaching the planet. Are you ready for this? Lirelei asked, her fur shifting between calm blue and nervous silver. She had been learning English quickly, and Marcus had been picking up more of her people's musical language every day. I think so, Marcus replied, squeezing her hand gently. But I'm not sure how my people will react to meeting yours. In the weeks since their bonding ceremony, Marcus had learned much about Villani culture. They were incredibly advanced in some ways. Their crystal technology, their harmony with nature, their deep understanding of emotions and relationships. But they had never developed weapons or military tactics because they had never needed them. The approaching ship was a search and rescue vessel from the human space service. Marcus knew that when they found him alive and well, living with an alien species, it would create quite a stir back on Earth. A rumble in the sky announced the ship's arrival. The sleek vessel descended through the atmosphere and landed in a clearing near the village. Marcus could see figures in spacesuits emerging from the ship, scanning the area with their instruments. "Stay close to me," Marcus told Lirelei. "Some humans might be afraid when they first see your people." Together, they walked down from the village to meet the rescue team. Captain Sarah Chen, no relation to Marcus despite the same last name, led the group. Marcus had worked with her before on other research missions. "Marcus," Captain Chen called out when she saw him. "Thank God you're alive. We've been searching for your ship for weeks." She stopped short when she noticed Lirelei walking beside him. "And you are?" "R. ADU. R. This is Lirelei," Marcus said proudly. "She saved my life after the crash. She's my partner now, and the daughter of the leader of this world's people." Captain Chen's eyes widened as she took in Lirelei's graceful appearance and the crystal village glowing in the background. "Partner? Marcus, what exactly happened here?" Over the next few hours, Marcus told his story to the amazed rescue team. He showed them the battlefield where he had defeated the Thornclaws, introduced them to Sylvana and the village elders, and explained the Silneth bonding ceremony. "This is incredible," said Dr. Williams, the team's xenobiologist. "First contact with a peaceful, intelligent species. And you've already established diplomatic relations." "More than that," Marcus said. "I've found my home." Captain Chen frowned. "Marcus, you know you can't just stay here permanently. You have responsibilities back on Earth. Your research, your career." "My research can continue here," Marcus replied firmly. "And as for my career, I think I've found something more important than publishing papers about alien plant life." Lirelei stepped forward, speaking in her careful English. "Captain Chen, with respect, Marcus has chosen to be our people's guardian. He has saved our lives and bonded with our culture. We need him, and he needs us. But what about human law? Human customs?" Captain Chen asked. "The government will have questions about this. Relationship." Marcus had been thinking about this problem for days. "Then maybe it's time for human law to expand. We're going to meet more alien species as we explore the galaxy. We need to learn how to build relationships with them, not just study them like specimens." A younger officer named Lieutenant Rodriguez had been talking with some of the Villani children, using his universal translator. "Captain," he called over, "you need to hear this. These people have knowledge about sustainable technology that could revolutionize human civilization. Their crystal cultivation, their harmony with their environment. We could learn so much." One stated, and Don Rao. One stated, and Don Rao. Sylvana approached the group, moving with her characteristic grace and dignity. "Captain Chen, your Marcus has given us the gift of life. In return, we offer knowledge and friendship to all humans. But this can only happen if you accept our customs and our bond with him. We understand that different species have different ways," Lirelei added. "But Marcus has become part of our family now. To take him away would wound our hearts and break our trust." Captain Chen looked around at the crystal village, at the peaceful Villani people, at the obvious affection between Marcus and Lirelei. Finally, she sighed and activated her communication device. "Command, this is Captain Chen. I need to speak with Admiral Martinez immediately." The conversation with Earth took several hours. Marcus waited nervously, while Captain Chen explained the situation to her superiors. There were arguments, questions, and long discussions about the implications of a human citizen bonding with an alien species. Finally, Captain Chen returned with news. "Admiral Martinez wants to establish a research station here, a joint human-Villani facility for studying their technology and culture. Marcus, you've been officially assigned as the first human-alien cultural liaison. Congratulations, you just invented a new career." Marcus felt relief and joy flooding through him. "And Lirelei? She'll be recognized as a full diplomatic partner." Captain Chen smiled. The government is actually excited about the possibilities. A peaceful first contact, shared technology, cultural exchange. It's everything we've hoped for. The Mendes prob, R and DOF, acta spes, S, X, S, DOF. 6 months later, the research station was thriving. Human scientists worked alongside Villani craftspeople, learning to grow crystal structures that could revolutionize construction and energy storage. Villani students learned about human technology and explored their planet's place in the larger galaxy. Marcus and Liralei's home sat at the center of it all. Part human technology, part Villani crystal craft, a perfect symbol of two species working together. Their first child was due in the spring, a baby that would be the first truly galactic citizen. On quiet evenings, Marcus would sit with Liralei on their balcony, watching the stars appear in the alien sky. Sometimes human ships passed overhead, carrying diplomats and scientists to meetings with other newly discovered species. Each contact was easier because of the precedent set on this small forest planet. "Do you ever regret staying?" Liralei asked one night, her fur glowing softly in the starlight. Marcus thought about his old life of solitary travel and research. Then he looked at his beautiful wife, at the thriving village around them, at the children playing in the crystal gardens, both human and Villani children, growing up together as friends. "Never," he said, pulling her close. "I was searching my whole life for something important to do. I just didn't know I was looking for a family." Above them, a shooting star streaked across the sky. Marcus made a wish that other humans would be as lucky as he had been. To find not just new worlds among the stars, but new homes, new families, and new kinds of love that stretched across the vast spaces between species. The galaxy was full of wonders waiting to be discovered. But the greatest discovery of all, Marcus knew, was that kindness and courage could build bridges between any two hearts, no matter how different they might seem.